Am I audible?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Good
Yes.
morning,
Yes.
sir.
Yes. Morning. Uh, in fact, I was about to begin driving to my college, but then since you people were keen for a physical virtual class, so I've just joined, and I've been interacting with the students through WhatsApp group as well as on uh, individual WhatsApp, particularly to those who have been answering to my questions. And since many of you are still stuck at the stage of even watching the videos, I was wondering whether this is the right time to begin the class. Uh, some of them have done, and I have been replying to those questions to those students. Plus, I have also raised additional questions to them. Uh, of these who are present right now, Ayush, Gautam, Kirti, Mayank, Nikhil, yeah, Prerna has replied, Rishika has replied, Shubham has replied, uh, and even Pragya has replied. Pragya is yet to join. Pragya was asking me to send the link. But okay, see, we are at the introductory stage, and I have given few videos to watch. Plus, I have raised some of the fundamental questions with which we begin the subject as a core curriculum. Can somebody summarize what we have done so far, and what is the initial question that I have raised? Because I am finding that on Google Meet I am able to interact with 10 students, but on WhatsApp I am able to interact with everybody depending upon their pace. So therefore I will do a mix and match between these two modes of communication, and Google Meet would happen now and then as we progress on the subject, so that we can summarize, we can interact on the questions that you are facing. uh, Pragya, are you able to join?
यस सर सर मैंने दूसरी ईमेल आईडी से ज्वाइन किया है, कॉल करने
You
से नहीं
called me?
होगा ज्वाइन। यस सर।
Hello?
यस सर आई कॉल यू।
Mm, not able to hear you. Say it again.
यस सर आई हैव ज्वाइन,
Okay,
यू हैव
okay,
ज्वाइन
fine.
विद डिफरेंट ईमेल आईडी।
What is that email ID?
सर दैट्स माय पर्सनल ईमेल आईडी, आई वाजंट एबल टू ज्वाइन विद द ऑफिशियल वन।
Maybe you have, when you have joined the Google Classroom, maybe you have registered with that one.
No sir, I have registered with the official one only. I will
Okay,
send you the
okay.
screenshot also.
Okay. No, there is no need to send me a screenshot right now, because we are in a class and you have already joined.
Yes sir.
So I was just saying that we have begun with the subject and many of you have watched the videos, but not all of you. So I am just asking those. Plus, I have raised few additional questions. A question related to Elon Musk, a question related to Tata Motors, and then there is a fundamental question with which we begin the subject. Can somebody summarize that? What are the questions that I have raised? Uh, I think many of you, because it was more like a search and find question as far as the question one is concerned, many of you are able to reply. But on the second question, still people are stuck as to how to answer. And then we move on to question number 3, which uh, was it on the main objective? Yes, third. Yes, that's the, yeah. So I am, like I've written, only 3 students and all that. So what's the main objective of financial management? So that's what we are trying to understand as a first important aspect of the subject? Anybody who has an answer? Main objective of financial management?
So maximization of shareholders' wealth.
Okay,
It's a
that's good. And
maximization.
some of you have replied also. But what does it mean? How do you achieve is, something which is more complex question to answer. But as you say, maximization of shareholders' wealth, how do you achieve that? What is the meaning of this? No, forget about how do you achieve. What is the meaning of this? If you start answering the question as to how do you achieve, it's virtually like you're covering the entire subject of financial management, this first paper. But you should be able to begin with saying what exactly it means when you say maximizing the shareholders' wealth. What is
Sir,
wealth?
basically,
Yeah. Yes, Pragya.
sir, I was saying that maximizing the wealth maximization means increasing the shareholders' wealth by increasing the earning per share.
Again, Pragya, you are answering how you achieve it, which is, sorry, say it again. You said what? Sorry. Just say it again. What did you say? Pragya? Sorry, I missed the last part. Maybe you are on the right track. Yes, Pragya. Just say it again.
Sir, increasing the earning per share. Sir, it will help the to increase the wealth of the shareholders.
Okay. So, what is the connection between earning per share and the wealth? Okay. Yeah. Anybody else?
Sir, basically, when the wealth of the organization increases, then it results in increase in the value of the shares.
Or is it the reverse?
Yes, sir.
Because the value of the share is increasing, so the wealth is increasing.
Yes, I mean to say that.
Because wealth is like a total function, and value of the share is you are looking at a micro level, at the level of an individual share. Assuming thereby, let us say a company has, I don't know how many shares, but let's say we are talking of Tata Motors only, and supposing that there are, I'm saying it hypothetically, supposing there are 5,000 shareholders, but let us say they own what number should, let's say they are owning 10 lakh shares. Now each of these shares is, let us say, of 10 rupees. So that means the share capital of this company, let's not call it Tata Motors, let us call it XYZ, because if I say Tata Motors, then I have to take the actual fact also. So I'm saying there is a company XYZ which has got 5,000 shareholders who own 10 lakh shares, and let us say each share is of 10 rupees. So that means there is a paid up share capital of 1 crore rupees. Now, let's say this company has been running over the years and it has earned profit over the last, let's say, hypothetically say that this company has been running for last 30 years and it has not distributed all the profits among the shareholders as dividend. So it has retained some money. So the money that it has returned has become its reserves and surplus. So if you look at the face value of the share, it is, as I've just mentioned, is 10 rupees. But if you look at the book value of the shares, how will you calculate it? If you take the book value of shares, how will you calculate it? Yes. How do you calculate?
Sir,
See, yeah,
sir,
yeah.
we just take the profit and divide it with the total number of outstanding shares, and we will get EPS. And if in the face value we add the EPS, then it might possible we will be able to calculate the book value.
That may be true in the first year of operation. But this company is now 30 years old. Am I getting across? See, in the very first year of operation, when you have just begun commercial operation of the company, so this company started with 1 crore rupees of capital, and let us say, because there are 10 lakh shares, let us say it earns 10 lakh rupees as profit, which is distributable among the shareholders. Okay, for the time being, we forget about taxes and all. Let's say it is distributable among shareholders, which is 10 lakh rupees. That means earning per share is 1 rupee. Okay. So this earning per share is 1 rupee. So how do you calculate book value? How much the book value becomes? To re-emphasize, I'm saying the example is a company, there are 5,000 shareholders, 10 lakh shares, each share is of 10 rupees. And in the first year of operation, the company that we are discussing is now 30 years old. But I am saying in the first year of operations, it has earned 10 lakh rupees as profit distributable among shares. Forget about taxes. We are just simplifying the scenario. So earning per share is coming out to be 1 rupee per share. Now my question is, what is the book value? We do try to understand the nitty-gritty so that when we use these terms, we understand it the same way. Because in a class, you're discussing, with many students, so we all, have a consensus on the terminology when we are communicating with each other. So we are trying to arrive at a grasp of the terms that we are going to use in the class, in the subject. And it is a simple question, it's not a difficult question. So I'm sure many of you may be having an answer in your mind, but I'm saying many, or maybe some of you, but you are hesitating to come forward. So I've given you a specific example so that you are able to connect it with the financial data. This financial data is available particularly for those companies which are listed on the stock exchanges itself. You go to a particular company, look at their data, you look at their annual reports, and you find a lot of financial information is available, which they are disclosing based on the listing requirement and disclosure requirements. For the non-listed companies, because this data is not available on the stock exchanges, but otherwise this data is available because they're supposed to file their annual returns, annual reports to the registrar of companies or to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and therefore the data is available. So we are trying to arrive at an objective information. Yes, anybody? So what is the book value in the first year of operation of the case example that we have taken? Yeah, tell me. The question is not to any particular. Question is to all of you. Whether it is Nikhil or Mayank, or Kirti or Prerna or Rishika or Sanjana, right? Or maybe Gautam, or who is left? Sanidhya or Shubham. Pragya included. Nobody has answered. I've given you all the data. See, before the company has begun the operation and company has got the paid up capital, so the face value of the share is 10 rupees, and book value is also 10 rupees. Okay. Now in the first year of operation, you have earned 10 lakh rupees. So earning per share is 1 rupee, which is correct. But how much is book value? There is a catch in the question.
So book value remains 10 rupees only.
Incorrect.
No.
Yes, anybody else? So in my class, questions will not be simple yes or no. You have to think. You have to apply your mind. Look at the data. The data will be simple so that you follow the concepts. My objective is not to bombard with the data. My objective is to provide you some data so that you can follow the concepts. Once you follow the concepts, you can handle the complex data or the devices which are available to support you. Computers, computer systems will be able to handle the complexity of the data. Yes, anybody else? Rishika? Gautam? Gautam, you came up with a quick answer. So what happened now?
Sir, as per according to my calculation, it must be rupees 11.
Okay. Anybody else has an answer? Okay, I think some of you
So
have
I
written
had
something in
the
the.
same answer, 11.
Okay, you also think it is. Anybody else who thinks different from 10 or 11? And where is your thinking going? Because both these answers may be wrong. And both these answers may be right, and there could be a third answer which could be right. Yes. Nikhil? Are you applying your mind? See, book value will be based on, I had hinted in the beginning, will be based on the paid up capital and reserves and surplus. Now you have earned 10 lakh rupees. Will this become part of reserves and surplus?
Sir, as they have not distributed it as dividend, so it will definitely become reserves and surplus.
Let us not say as, we should say if they have not distributed, because that decision hasn't come. That decision will determine how much will be the reserves and surplus is exactly the catch in the question. Supposing they distribute all the 10 lakh rupees, so they give, the entire profit to the shareholders as dividend. So the dividend is 100% of the profit. The payout ratio is 1. And so in that case, reserves and surplus added to the reserves and surplus, which is in the beginning is 0, will also remain 0. So if it remains 0, book value will remain 10 only. But supposing they do not distribute any dividend, so all the money, that is 1 rupee per share, will be added, and therefore the book value will become 11. But supposing they distribute a part of the profit, so depending upon the profit that they retain, will become part of the reserves and surplus and will be required in the calculation of book value. Okay, am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, so this book value concept is based on capital plus reserves and paid up capital plus reserves and surplus divided by number of shares. And so it can vary. So now we are saying 30 years later. So if you are saying 30 years later, but we are now very sure what is to be used in the calculation. So whether the company is 30-year-old, 20-year-old, 10-year-old, or a fresh company just 1 year old, we are looking at the paid up capital plus reserves and surplus, and we are dividing it by number of shares. So that gives us book value. And we were discussing the concept of wealth maximization, and somebody said wealth maximization is to be connected with market value of the shares. And so far we have been able to arrive at only the idea of book value. Now market value has to be reflected in the market. And our assumption is that we are talking of a mature market. So if we are talking of a mature market, the market would have stable reflection of the share price. Because what is a share price? What is the price of a share? We generally say that it is the present value of future cash flows which would arrive to you if you own that share. Supposing you buy a share today of a company, let's say Oracle share of Oracle Financial Software Services, OFSS, which is listed in India, is presently quoting something around, if I'm not wrong, around 4,000, around 4,200 rupees. So this 4,200 rupees, if the Indian stock exchanges, NSE, BSE, is giving a matured reflection, that means the efficiency of market. So when you say efficiency of market, there are questions involved in this, but we are assuming that the market is efficient. That means there are large player, there are number of buyers, number of sellers, and therefore there is no market deficiency. So if there is no market deficiency, the price is stabilizing to something. So when price is stabilizing to something, so that's a reflection of its true value. So if it is a reflection of its true value, we say, what is this value that you are actually looking at? This value is nothing but present value of future cash flows that would arrive to the holder of that share in the company. So this 4,200 is in a way the present value of all the future streams of cash flows. There may be situations of non-cash flows, but that gets incorporated through cash flows. I'll give you an example connecting to this. Supposing 5 years later, company issues bonus shares. So when company issues bonus shares, let's say the bonus is in the ratio of 1:1, that means one share will become two share. But right now what we are holding is one share which will become 5 years later as two shares. So the cash flows to those two shares will again be future to that 5th year, will be in the form of dividends, which is cash. And therefore you are in a way, now we do not know the cash flows, we are yet to know, but we make certain assumptions about this company's profitability, and therefore we are theorizing the idea of a business. So we are saying a business belongs to a risk class. So when you theorize this concept of a business belonging to a risk class, so now my exposition is becoming complex, because the moment you start connecting with wealth maximization, and then you define wealth maximization in the sense of maximizing the shareholders' wealth, and therefore wealth you are measuring as the market price of a share. So you are using market as a mechanism for valuation. So this kind of a concept of valuation has come over the last 6-7 decades earlier. Before that, because the stock exchanges did not exist sufficiently, companies used to focus more on profits, because that was the measure, that was the index available. We never had this index of shareholders' wealth to use it as the objective, the main objective of the finance function, main objective of the financial management. Okay, so this is how we connect the idea of main objective of wealth maximization, and therefore then we start discussing on issues relating to wealth maximization versus profit maximization, how wealth maximization is superior. I think one of the student has tried answering this question as to on my individual WhatsApp group, as to how wealth maximization is a superior function, is a superior goal compared to profit maximization. And it is in this context, we are discussing important terminologies which we will be using, so that what you study in this class, you are able to follow when we start talking of these terminologies in the future lectures. Okay, so I talked of face value, I talked of book value, I talked of market price of a share. I so book value could be total book value. So when you say total book value, you may say all the capital and all the reserves and surplus. Likewise, you say face value. So we are rather trying to say with reference to one share, face value of a share, book value of a share, market price of a share. So this market price of a share is used to find out the wealth of the shareholders. Why it is being used? Because it's a market mechanism. Of course, there may be some deficiencies, particularly where the market is not efficient, or this particular share is not able to reflect the information related to future cash flows. When that can happen? It can happen in some of the cases. For example, let's say it's a new startup company recently listed in the stock exchanges. Now the potential of that startup is really in a speculative domain. And since it is in a speculative domain, we are yet to know what is the risk class to this, what is the risk class to which this particular company belongs, to which this particular business belongs. And therefore, there could be, so such cases have to be taken with caution. But otherwise, what you see on the market today is nothing but present value of future cash flows aggregated over all the investors who are having stake in this business, or who could potentially have a stake in the business. I think I stop here to look for what questions, comments are there in your mind before I go further. So Pragya has given 10.1. Pragya, how have you calculated this 10.1? What is this 10.1? Yes, Pragya. What is this 10.1? Okay, not a problem since you are not answering. So this is how we reach to the idea of Pragya is saying I got confused and added 1% to the actual price of share. Okay, but so what is the clarity now?
Sir, now
Pragya, what
it's
is the
clear. Sir,
no? So what
sir,
is
I
the
got it.
yeah? So what's the answer?
Sir, it's 11 because basically the book value is the total paid up value plus the reserves and surplus. Since the company haven't given any dividend, so it has reserves of rupees 10 lakh, and the paid up capital is 1 crore, so it becomes 1 crore 10 lakh, and we could divide it by 10 lakh, that is the total capital employed, and so we get the book value of the share 11.
Pragya, 90% you are right, but you should not say that since company has not declared dividend. You say if company has not declared dividend, because we have still not talked about whether company has declared a dividend or not. We have only talked about what is the profit. So your answer should be that if the company doesn't declare a dividend, then the book value is 11 rupees. But if the company declares a dividend of let's say 20 paisa per share, what will be the book value? The question is to everybody. Okay, not a problem. You think about it, and I am about to end this class. And then having, I have already recommended the books. Try to procure, study Of course, there are quite a few textbooks available. Sorry, there are quite a few textbooks available in the market. So textbooks are generally books which are just neatly according to the syllabus. While recommended books are, more broad-based, dealing with the subject as it is, and therefore, at least students should try to also look at, students of honors classes should also try to look at the recommended books, not just the textbooks. As it comes to textbooks, there are textbooks written according to Delhi University Become Honors syllabus by Rustagi, by this what is that Surendra Singh, and one more author, some core by Bhole, by Kuchal, by there are 3-4 more books. So there are 7-8 books in the market which we could call it as textbooks, because these are exactly according to the syllabus, giving you a thin set of number of pages so that you are not frightened. But I expect honor students not to be frightened. So I have already given the recommended books first on my WhatsApp group. Okay, so if you have any question, you ask me right now. Otherwise, I am closing the class. We have got 4 minutes to go. What's the next question that will come to our mind? So the main objective is wealth maximization. To achieve this objective of wealth maximization, a finance manager faces 3 conflicting goals. So the question that comes to our mind is, what are these 3 conflicting goals, and what does a finance manager do with respect to these conflicting goals? And then another question important which comes to our mind, which I have even not raised on the individual WhatsApp. To some students, I have raised this question which I have just mentioned to some of the students on their individual WhatsApp, because they have been interacting with me. But this one, I have not raised it to anybody so far, because none of you have reached to that stage. But I am raising it here. And that is, what are the major decisions to be taken in financial management? We call it major decisions of finance. Okay, so we'll discuss these questions not tomorrow, because tomorrow there is some social function in the college, so I will not be able to interact with you in a formal classroom. But otherwise, I'll be interacting with you as I get answers from you people on my individual WhatsApp group. Okay, if you don't have any question, I'm just closing the class.